Czechast, a podcast in English about Czech and Moravian society, history, culture and economy.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of Czechast, the podcast where we explore all things Czech, history, language, culture and the stories that bring them to life. I'm your host, Vít Pohanka, and today I'm excited to introduce you to something new and very close to my heart. As someone who loves uncovering the lesser-known corners of Czechia, I'm thrilled to share with you a brand new podcast I'm hosting for Radio Prague International. It's called Prague Off the Beaten Track. This podcast is your guide to the hidden gems of Prague, unique places, stories and cultural experiences that you won't find in the usual guidebooks or on the standard tourist paths.
Prague Off the Beaten Track. Vít Pohanka takes you away from the crowds to the city's hidden gems.
Whether you're a traveler, an expat, or just someone who wants to discover a different side of the Czech capital, this is for you. Each episode is fairly short, 10 to 20 minute journey recorded on location where we dive into the history, culture and charm of Prague's offbeat spots. Let me give you a little taste of what's to come. In the first episode that's already been published and you can find it, we explore Štvanice Island.
Zastávka na znamení. Příští zastávka Štvanice.
I took tram number 14 from the crossroads of Vodičkova Street and Václavské náměstí, right in the heart of Prague. After just a few stops, I arrived at Štvanice station, a gateway to a fascinating part of Prague that holds layers of history and unexpected spectacles. So I get off the tram. The stop is on the Hlávka Bridge, which spans the Vltava or the Moldau River across Štvanice Island. What you can probably hear in the background is the sound of one of the weirs. Life in Prague has been shaped by this river since ancient times. Indeed, it was one of the main reasons why humans began settling here in the Paleolithic era thousands of years ago. The river provided resources like fish and driftwood, but also posed threats, especially during spring floods. Life on and around the river in this part of Prague centered on this island, or rather islands, historically called Velké Benátky, Great Venice, because originally it was an archipelago. The islands were connected into one landmass only in the 20th century. In medieval times, a fort at Štvanice's eastern tip made it a critical crossing point of the Vltava. However, by the 1170s, the fort's importance waned with the construction of Prague's first stone bridge, the Judith Bridge, which stood in the place of today's so famous Charles Bridge. But back to Štvanice. A catastrophic flood in 1118, described as biblical by the Czech legendary chronicler Cosmas, was just one of many. Major floods throughout the 12th, 13th and 14th centuries literally devastated life on the island, washing away bridges and homes. But despite these challenges, the island remained inhabited by fishermen and ferrymen. Notably, in 1420, during the Hussite Wars, one of the bloodiest yet most significant periods in Czech history, the legendary military leader Jan Žižka led his army here and they camped on Štvanice before their historic victory at Vítkov Hill, which can actually be seen from the place where I stand right now. The island's strategic position made it a site of military activity during various times, particularly in the 30 Years' War, when it housed a gunpowder depot and played a role in defending Prague against invading forces. In another episode, we'll take a closer look at Podskalí, the riverside district that once thrived on timber rafting. I walked out of the old customs house and now I'm standing on Náplavka, the beautiful quayside of the Vltava river. And I would say one of the most popular places in Prague for walking, jogging or just relaxing. Prague's quayside altogether stretches for about 4 kilometers, but this part here in Podskalí is perhaps the most popular. It's lively, it's picturesque and it has a unique charm that draws both locals and visitors alike. Right in front of me there are several boats anchored along the quayside, and one of them is especially popular with families today because it has a little skating ring open for kids and they seem to be having a great time. It's a lovely reminder, I think, of how this river has always been an integral part of Prague's life from its history, both as a transport communication but also a place for leisure, sports and enjoyment. And if I look out on the calm water today, it's kind of hard to imagine now in January that the Vltava used to freeze over in winters, right up until the 1950s. Back then the river was often cold enough for people to play ice hockey on its surface. But that changed during the construction of a series of dams upstream from Prague, because these dams that were completed in the mid-20th century have warmed the river and made freezing quite a rare occurrence now. However, if you speak to older residents of the city, they might still share kind of their fond memories of skating or playing on the frozen river, a sight that feels like a distant past today, even though you can easily find photos on the internet when it was still so. So, standing here on Náplavka with its vibrant atmosphere and stunning views of the Vltava, it's easy to see why this place is such a favorite spot. It's not just a part of Prague's present. I think it really is a place that carries stories of its past as well. So I've now settled into one of the cozy little cafes here on Náplavka. What makes this place so unique is that these cafes are actually situated in the old vaults built into the embankment when it was constructed. Originally, these kind of vaults served as storerooms for materials that were transported along the Vltava river, but over time, as the importance of the river as a transportation route diminished, these spaces were abandoned. For much of the 1980s and 1990s, if I remember correctly, both the vaults and Náplavka itself fell into neglect. They were not very nice, but thankfully they've been beautifully restored and repurposed in recent years. So that was a little taste of Prague of the Beaten Track, which is now available on all major audio platforms. Of course, it's free and new episodes are published weekly unless something unexpected happens. So, why not join me in exploring a side of Prague you may not have seen before? This city really has much more to offer than its famous landmarks, and I can't wait to share these hidden gems with you. That's it for this special episode of Czechast. I hope you'll check out Prague of the Beaten Track and let me know what you think. Until next time, stay curious, take care, and as always, naslyšenou.
Czechast, a podcast in English about all things Czech. Whether you're an English-speaking expat living in Czechia and Slovakia, or a descendant of the Czechs, Moravians and Slovaks who left for a better life in America, Australia, Britain or Canada so long ago that you don't speak the language of the old country, this podcast in English is for you.